Welcome to Good Morning Acuity. I'm Karen McReynolds with Acuity Brands, and today's guest speaker is sure to brighten your day. Please welcome Pete Shanine, Vice President of Daylighting Product Solutions. He's here to enlighten us on daylighting.
Hey, Karen.
Welcome, Pete.
It's great to see you.
Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So, Pete, let's start with a basic. What is daylighting, and what are we going to learn about it today?
Hey, Karen, that's a great question. I get these questions around, well, what is daylighting and how do you differentiate that from skylights? And most people think, well, I'm doing daylighting. All I'm doing is putting a skylight and letting light into the space. And it's so much more than that. Really what you're looking to do with daylighting is you're looking to how you can optimize the amount of electric light you use in a space in response to daylight. And the key on how you can do that is through the usage of lighting control. And so what I wanted to do today is take just a few moments of your time to kind of go over a high level of daylighting 101. I want to go through some daylighting terms so you understand how to read through a specification sheet. I want to give you a little bit more insight into the latest of what's going on with regulatory and code. I want to give you some understanding of our product offering so you can know what to use when you're doing a daylighting project. And then lastly, give you some insight on some of the design support tools we have to offer to help support your daylighting projects.
Wow, that's a lot of information. Okay, so let's start with the basic. Why would somebody want to put daylighting in their facility or business?
Sure. Well, most folks, when they're looking to use daylighting, the first thing they think about is how can I save money? Daylight is free. So the idea there is that if you can turn the lights off or dim the lights using daylighting, why wouldn't you want to do that? And typically you can save around 40 to 70% of your energy through lighting related to daylight. But it's more than that, right? One of the things is that the quality of daylight is just much better than you get with electric light. We're humans. We react to daylight. And the CRI value of daylight is almost 100. So why wouldn't you want to use that? Another piece is around sustainability. When's the last time you heard of a school being built that doesn't have some kind of design intent that's sustainable or green oriented? So architects and designers are constantly looking for how can I make my school greener? And so they want to use daylight. And then the last thing I want to bring up is these inherent benefits of daylighting that impacts us as people. How do we use daylight to improve occupant well-being as an example? So think around productivity benefits, how you can reduce absenteeism, improve retail sales through the usage of daylight. There's all these inherent benefits of why folks would want to use daylight.
Wow, that's pretty intuitive. And a lot of benefits that come naturally from the daylighting.
Mm-hmm.
So with daylighting, though, there's a lot of terminology that's really complex. Can you break some of that down for us?
Sure. It's actually not that complex, just putting that out there. A lot of folks, though, get intimidated by the daylighting terminology because they feel it's different than lighting and what they typically know. Well, one of the things we want to start off with there is just kind of take you through these key terms. The first term I want to talk through is VLT, and VLT stands for Visual Light Transmittance, and it measures how much daylight comes through the skylight and how much light you're getting into the building. The second term that I would talk through is a term called low U, or U value, and what that is that's a value of insulation of the skylight and how much heat it's able to basically keep in the building through the insulation value of the skylight. So most folks have heard of R value related to insulation, for as an example. It's basically the opposite of that. And then another terminology that you'll see on a specification sheet is a value called solar heat gain coefficient. And what solar heat gain coefficient is, it measures how much how much heat is coming through the skylight from the sun. And what you want is the lower the solar heat gain coefficient, then the less amount of heat that you can have coming through the skylight. And then the last thing I was going to go through from a terminology is this thing called haze. And what you want to see there is that the higher value of haze you have, the higher or the more diffusion you're going to have in terms of the skylight or the daylight coming through. And that's very important. And why that's important is that we see skylights out there with very high VLT, which means they let a lot of light through. but they don't have a lot of haze or a lot of diffusion. And what happens is you get these glare hot spots in the building, which you don't want, right? You want to have usable light. So for our skylights, what we do is we put 100% haze or 100% diffusion in our skylights. Therefore, we get a lot of great usable light. And actually, we have a couple of pictures I want to share with you if we can show those on our screen. So this first one here this is a daylighting project, and it shows a warehouse. It has electric lights and no skylights. And you may say, hey, do I want to work in this facility?
It's really dark.
No, probably not. Well, hey, let's put some daylight in. What do you think? Should we do that? All right, so let's go ahead and cut some holes in our roof. And then you see on the graphic now behind me here that we are now having daylight. But notice that it's not very good, is it? You have hot spots. Yeah, it's not what I would really want for a daylighting project. Well, I can do better than that. Why don't I go in and put our skylights on there and now look at the space? Isn't that amazing? Isn't that great?
Very evenly illuminated.
Yeah, that shows you the difference between just simply putting a skylight in with great VLT but no diffusion. You have to have diffusion to get that usable light.
So what you're saying is there's a big difference between a product daylighting solution and just installing a skylight.
Sure. Well, and what I want to focus in on here is that many folks can provide skylights. They may not have the same qualities of our skylights in terms of the amount of diffused, natural, usable light that we're able to bring through, but it needs to be more than that if you want to basically control the amount of light that you have in the space and ensure that you're getting the energy savings you expect to receive. And the way we can do that as Acuity Brands is we can do that through our daylighting product solutions. We have our Sunoptics skylights, we have our Acuity lighting controls, and then we have a portfolio of LED lighting. So we can bring all those together to work harmoniously together so you get a much better proposition and a better outcome for the occupant, which is great.
Great, thank you. So what are some applications that are best suited for daylighting?
Great. Well, what I want to do is I want to show you some pictures so you can see how daylighting impacts spaces. So the first one is warehouses. Warehouse is a great application for using the daylight. You have high ceiling mounting heights, and we can use larger skylights to bring in light into space. And you're going to save 40 to 70% of your energy savings through the skylights, and you get the benefit of occupant well-being, improved productivity, reduce safety issues related to lighting quality.
That's a big deal.
And then the next one I would say would be for schools. So you can think about libraries as an example, is a great opportunity. You know how everyone will congregate around the kitchen when you have a dinner party? Well, you can use daylighting to almost create that same effect in an architectural space like a school. So this is an example of a library. We're able to do that through the usage of a skylight.
And the kids definitely benefit from that daylight.
Oh, sure. And then gymnasiums, again, high mounting heights, free light coming into space, great vertical luminance, great application for using for daylight. Classrooms, we hear a lot about that because teachers are constantly looking to bring daylight in for the students to their benefit. They realize that their students perform better under daylight than they do under natural light. And a lot of schools were designed where they didn't have windows. And if you're doing a renovation opportunity, it's a great way of bringing daylight in through the top of the roof in order to improve the lighting quality in the space. And then a last application I want to talk through is retail. So we provide daylighting products through numerous retailers, and they do this because they realize that it improves the shopping experience because humans want to go where there's daylight. And so there's actually lots of market studies that are out there that show how using daylight improves retail sales.
So that's interesting because I know when I'm in a store, I'm looking for that skylight now, but a lot of people aren't even aware it's there.
Right.
So those are some great examples. Can you tell us then why daylighting is a better source?
Sure. What you really want to think about with daylight is number one, is that all electric light sources are trying to mirror the lighting quality of daylight. I mean, daylight inherently has a CRI of 100. Which is what all light sources are trying to achieve to be. The second thing is daylight is a full or broad spectrum light source. It covers the whole spectrum in terms of the color quality. Electric lights usually have points along those sources. They aren't able to provide a full spectrum of lighting. And the other benefit of using daylighting with electric light is that they're additive. You can improve the lighting quality of the space by simply introducing daylight with your electric lighting in a space.
Okay, so Pete, are there codes relative to daylighting, and why are they so important?
Sure. Well, absolutely, there's codes. Probably the code that most folks relate to is ASHRAE 90.1. We hear about that in the lighting world quite a bit. And there's various versions of that states may have adopted. You may have 2007, you have 2010, you have 2013. And each one of those codes have different requirements relative to daylighting. The one that I want to really talk to is 2013, which is the latest code. And why that's important is that for many applications, the code requires the use of daylight. If you have ceiling heights greater than 15 feet and square footage greater than 2,500 square feet, for things like open office or a warehouse, for example, or a gymnasium, you actually are required to use daylighting in those spaces.
So that's really a lot of good information, Pete. So we've talked a lot about daylighting. So now can we kind of get into a little bit about the Sunoptics daylighting products?
Sure. I love to talk about my products, right? Yeah, we have a great portfolio of products to support daylighting projects. I don't have time in our show here today to go through all of them, but I'm going to go through a couple of key ones to get you very excited around what we have to offer. So the first product I want to talk about is our signature skylight. Our signature skylight is a high-performance prismatic skylight, and actually I have a sample here to help me talk through this with you.
Nice.
Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about with prisms. See how it's prismatic?
Very pokey underneath.
Yeah, and so what we're doing with our signature prismatic skylight, and actually all of our skylights feature prismatics, is that we have a clear sheet over our white sheet, and what we're doing here is we're capturing light through the clear, and we're diffusing it through the white. That's what's creating that diffusion in our skylights. And what makes our signature skylight very unique is it's able to capture more light at low sun angles than any other skylight that's on the market. And we can do that without the skylight moving. And that's very important to our customers because the whole idea, right, is to capture as much light as you can, but you want it to be usable. Other things that are great about our signature skylight is it uses what we call our 800 MD frame. And what we do here is that we have aspects to this frame to ensure that you get a very high quality skylight. Number one is we have a thermal break that we include here, if you can see that. See the thermal break?
Yep.
What that's going to do is that's going to reduce the amount of, or eliminate the issues of condensation that you would have through the skylights.
And that's important.
That is important. The second thing we have here is we have this thing called a curb tape. And when we use the curb tape, what that's doing is it improves the seal between the skylight and as it sits down on the curb, which is important. We also have another quality feature called our weather sweep. And what that weather sweep does is that helps eliminate the issue of upward rain that could maybe come into the skylight and let water into the skylight, which you don't want to have, right? And then if you did happen to have any condensation, we have little holes in here in the frame that you can see here that help basically bring the water out of the frame and out into the external roof. Some other things I want to talk about, though, about Signature is that it is very well tested. It's certified by a number of folks. Number one is that it is AMA certified. It's AAMA, and it's also listed on NFRC. And all folks should go look to make sure that their skylights that they use are on NFRC to ensure that they've passed the certification testing required to be used in their facilities. Another thing you want to think about when selecting a skylight is you want to think around how it's going to deal in storms, and in particular hail. And we have different glazing materials that can react differently to hailstorms. So we can have something we call Class 1 material that can deal with basically an inch-size hail, all the way up to our Clear Armor product, which is our polycarbonate product, that can deal up to 2-inch hail.
That's big hail.
Yes. We have a product called a smoke vent. And a smoke vent is a product that you would use if, let's say, your local fire code required the skylight to actually open in the case of fire. And you may say, well, how do I make it open? And the way we're able to do that is we have a fusible link. And when the temperature in the building gets so hot from the fire, it actually melts and then it opens. And so we have that product that's called our Sunoptics smoke vent. But I want to share something that's really exciting with you. We recognize that there's an opportunity out there around what we call this renovation space.
Absolutely.
There's lots of warehouse buildings that are out there that use fiberglass panels, and fiberglass panels are a terrible way of providing daylight in a space. Number one is that they get brown over time. Two is that they're very leak prone, right? And three, that they're a safety hazard because when you're on the roof, you can't really see them. And unfortunately, there's so many folks that are hurt in accidents when they walk across these fiberglass panels not knowing that they're there. So we're actually coming out with a new product. We hope to have that out very soon, and it's called our Easy Curb product, and it's geared directly to go after that fiberglass panel. And what we're going to be able to do is be able to pull that fiberglass panel out, insert a curb system, and then apply our signature skylight on top of that. And that's going to really change the game in terms of how you will apply daylighting in a space where they're using fiberglass panels today.
That's very exciting because we know there's a lot of dark warehouses out there that could use that daylighting. Okay, Pete, so if someone in our audience would like to specify or design daylighting into an upcoming project, do we have any tools available for them?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. We've really focused hard in terms of how we can improve the design experience for our customers because we understand the challenges of doing these daylighting products. So one of the things we've done is we have worked with a company called ArcCat. ArcCat provides basically information to architects. It's free. It's on a web-based type of product, and all of our information is out on ArcCat. So you can go to arcat.com and you can type in Sunoptics, and then you'll be able to go to our page. But there's a couple of tools on ArcCat that I wanted to bring up. One is that we have a tool called Spec Wizard, and a Spec Wizard is a point-and-click system. It allows you to customize a CSI spec sheet to our products. So you no longer have to go and download a spec sheet and then say, I'm going to cut through this, I'm going to type in this. We can design that spec sheet just for your purpose, for your project. That's a big time saver.
Absolutely.
And then what else we also have is we have all of our information both on our website at sunoptics.com and on ArcCat. We have BIM models, we have CAD models, we have CSI spec sheets. So we have a whole host of information that's out there. Another great design tool that we have is called SkyCalc, and why we use this tool is that we get lots of questions around how much energy am I saving when I put in a daylighting solution. So the DOE actually helped fund this tool.
Very nice.
So it was funded by the DOE, and through that tool we're able to basically say, based on how much daylight you're using in the space, here's how much light you're going to, or how much energy you're going to save in terms of lighting savings, and it also shows you how it's offset with heating and cooling losses as that comes up. But the last tool I want to talk about, this is very exciting for us, is now we have the ability to do daylighting design in Visual. Visual is our lighting software, and we've been asked for the last couple of years on, can you guys do daylighting modeling in Visual? And we said we would love to, but it's not that easy. Well, we've invested a lot of time and effort and now have the ability to do that. So if you're doing a classroom, a gymnasium, an open office, a warehouse, we now have the ability to do daylighting calculations in our lighting software. And lastly, I just wanted to bring out that we just have a host of sales tools available on our website. Again, sunoptics.com. You can go out there, you can get sales sheets, you can get brochures, you can get product information, video, we have case studies. A lot of great information that's out there. I would encourage you as well is that we have a couple of case studies that we put out recently around school and warehouse projects. So come out to our website and see what we have to offer.
Well, Pete, you've definitely enlightened us today. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Great. I really appreciate you having us. I wanted to leave you with a couple of key things. Number one is that as we talked around, daylighting is much more than skylights. It's around using skylights, LED lighting, and lighting controls. And guess what? Acuity Brands is the only company that can offer these things to our customers. So if you want to ensure that you're getting the best lighting quality in the space and getting the energy savings you expect to receive, really only Acuity is the only one that can provide that holistic daylighting solution. Number two is that it's a key focus for our architects and for engineers. Architects care about daylighting because they're the ones who are specifying it in the space. And end users, of course, care about it because they're the ones who feel the daylighting in the space. And also I wanted to also point out that it's a key market trend. There's a thirst for daylighting in the space. It's being driven by code and compliance. We talked about ASHRAE 90.1. So when you have to meet code, really think around using Acuity daylighting products. You can find information about our products on acuitybrands.com, and you can also find products on sunoptics.com. And I really want to say thank you so much for having us today. It's been really a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much for being here today, Pete. And that's it for today's show. And just please remember to think daylighting on your next project.